Hi guys, it has been a minute and a half since I have sat down to talk to you guys. I've been doing a lot. I've been momming, I've been very busy, doing my thing, but I miss you guys. Just know, I try to upload as often as I can, and I hope in the future to upload more again one day, but for now, I pop on when I can pop on, and I'm excited today because I'm doing one of my favorite videos to make, and that is a Q&A. I don't know what that says about me, like how into myself and my own thoughts I like to share with the world I am. That sentence didn't make sense, but you got my gist. But I do, I love filming these kinds of videos because it's fun to get to connect with you guys, hear your questions, all that jazz. So I'm gonna jump right in. I got all of these questions off of Instagram. By the way, please give this video a thumbs up if you like it. It helps to support my channel a lot. And leave me a comment. Let me know. I mean, even if you're just like, hey girl, that helps my video. If you have any other questions, maybe for another Q&A, or you have any thoughts, tangents, disagreements, agreements, all that jazz, let's do it. First question we're gonna come out of the gate with is, what is your rose and thorn about living in Idaho? Now, I love that phrase in general, like a rose and a thorn, because you can't have roses without thorns. At least I don't think, though they'll probably figure out how to make them. Holy Toledo. Okay, so my rose is much bigger, and more pronounced than my thorns about living here. My rose is, there's multiple things here. Although, do I have to pick one? Is that the point of the question? I'll pick one then, community. The community up here, I'm in a really specific chapter in my life. Sometimes when I talk about how great the community, did not pick the right memory card because I just hit record and then it was like memory card full. So new memory card. Anyways, as I was saying, sometimes I feel bad when I talk about how incredible the community is up here, like it's making a slam towards the other places that I've lived. If you didn't know this, you're new here. I am actually a native to Los Angeles. I lived there most of my life. And then about 7-8 years ago, we moved away to Nashville because we felt like the Lord was calling us there. We actually felt like we couldn't picture having family in Los Angeles, like having a family, building a family, having children. And that felt like a really bad sign. Can't even picture it. Maybe this isn't where we're supposed to be. So we ended up going to Nashville in pursuit of a little bit of a slower lifestyle, less population, more connection with nature. And it was really awesome. But kind of what happened in our time in Nashville is we became even more, we realized that we were more radically right-wing than we realized. Living through the Schmovid area in Nashville just made us realize that we needed to go to an even smaller city. So we have downsized in terms of population growth and in terms of population of the community, and have gotten even more specific about the things that are important to us. So I have had incredible friends in every town, community that I've lived in, people that love the Lord and have been really good to me. So I have to say that, but this chapter of life that we are in, the community that we have up here is so incredible, and it honestly just keeps getting better, which only makes sense, right? The longer that you live somewhere, the more you develop history with people, it just keeps getting better. So many people in the community are very like-minded. Their priorities are very similar to me and my husband, and so it creates a natural bond in this season of life. The way that we want to raise our kids, the way that we want to educate our kids/children. I have a weird thing about saying kids now, ever since I saw that Instagram video where they were like, a kid is a goat, it's not a child. I'm like, oh man, whatever, it's a whole thing. Tell me if you've seen those videos. Anyways, it's definitely very bonding to the community that is here. Also, we have honed in on our beliefs around health and wellness and how we want to walk out health and wellness with our children in terms of vaccinations, in terms of the food that we eat, where we source our food, homeschooling, so many things. And so this is really special because we love our babies so much. And there really is a thing, obviously, when you become a parent, that your children become the center of your universe in a lot of ways. Not entirely, but they're really high up there and you love them so much. And so being able to build community around those very important values has, for us, around people, our children that we love so much, just really hits hard, Also, I will say that a lot of the people up here I have found, and this is not just me, my parents feel the same, my brother feels the same, that people are hyper social up here. They do a lot of things. People are constantly throwing little events, little things. Businesses are doing things. There's events in the community happening all the time. Very regular pursuit of time to get together is that's just something that exists within this community. Did that make sense? I feel like that was all over the map, but hopefully you get my gist. Also, I feel like I'm talking really fast, but that's because I want to answer as many questions as I can in a short period of time. So yeah, oh, I didn't finish. That's my rose. My thorn is the weather, guys. Now, if you've been following me for a long time, you know that part of the reason that we left Los Angeles, this is not like the reason at all, but we liked the idea of being able to experience seasons, not only just for like a change in life. Sometimes I would be in LA and I'd be like, oh my gosh, another sunny day, which feels a little ridiculous now when we have like so many cloudy days and I'm like, I just want sun. But that's how I felt. It felt a little bit like Groundhog's Day. And I liked the idea of being able to go somewhere where we could experience different types of weather, where the trees around us would change in the way that they looked, like we could have actual fall, which I never really experienced until I moved to Nashville. So I like that seasons change. I think it also gives you a really clear, is the word demarcation? I feel like that's not the word I'm looking for, but like it gives you a really clear like eye mark or symbology, I don't know, of the fact that time is moving forward. I think it's really easy in LA culture, not only because of the weather and the seasons, also because of priorities that some people have and just the culture in general. You lose track of time. You don't really realize like how much time is going by. But that becomes more obvious when you have seasons because you're like, oh my gosh, you know, X season is already back, like it's here. And it really makes you aware of the time changing. But it is my thorn because about 5 months out of the year, maybe 6, it is really cold, okay? We get snow, and I know everybody up here is like, we haven't had real snow since 2010, but to this Southern California native, it's snow. And so that is my answer. Deep winter is hard for me. Like February, things are getting tough, okay? I'm hanging on barely. Not literally, but you know, I'm trying to get some more warm clothes for this year so that I handle it better. But it just gets hard deep winter. So there's that. Okay, someone asked, curious about your thoughts on Botox, filler, and how normalized it's become. Okay, so I have had many a beauty treatment in my day, guys. If you didn't know, I know this isn't the same thing, but I had a breast augmentation. So that's one of the things I've done. I used to get Botox regularly. I didn't do very much. I'm very sensitive to it in general. Like whenever I would get it done, especially in a new office, they would like make me sign a thing saying that I understood that that small amount of Botox would probably not work, but it always did because I was very sensitive to it, which is actually kind of a little scary. But I stopped using it partially for a vanity, because I had a friend who said that the Botox made me look like I was older and trying to look younger. That's part of it. Part of it is also because of health reasons. And I don't think that the ingredients in Botox and filler is super great for you. Now, I am a big believer, oh my gosh, the big deer, there are trucks going down our street now, like taking all the leaves away. Wow. I am a big believer of like choosing your toxins because I am crunchy, but crunchy is on a spectrum. To some people, I'm like very crunchy, and to other people, I'm not crunchy enough because like I don't think my top is all natural materials. Like I don't have all natural materials for all of my clothes. I do like lots of natural materials, but I'm not like, you know, super picky about it. I burn candles, though I burn candles that are like non-toxic. I love them, by the way, Ginger June, check them out. But I'm a big believer in like awareness and recognizing that it's almost impossible to live a perfectly non-toxic life, and you can actually drive yourself crazy. I've seen people do it. So you pick and you choose. Like, where do you willingly want to accept the toxins? Because there are some things in life that like the toxic kind just works better than like the clean kind. So, you know, people pick and choose. But for me, at least at this point in my life, I don't feel good about the idea of getting Botox or filler. And it is kind of sad, on a side note that's not a side note, to see how much people are starting to look alike. Like, I'm not saying this from a jealous hater perspective. There are like multiple celebrities that I see that have gotten work done that it makes me really sad because I think they looked prettier before. And I can kind of understand, if I like try to see myself through their perspective, why they saw that and thought that was a flaw. And this runs the gamut. I mean, literally, there are people I've seen with like crooked teeth who, after they got them straightened, I was like, you actually looked better with the crooked teeth. And I didn't register that that was possible. Or like there's one girl, and I'm not going to be naming names, obviously, right? Maybe I'm making that obvious. There's a celeb I was looking at the other day who she had her eyes like lifted. And I've actually looked in the mirror before, particularly on my left side, where like everything kind of droops down. And I'm like, if I could just a little lift right there, like that would be good. And this girl did have kind of like droopier eyes from the outside. But I didn't realize till she got work done that like the droopy eyes were actually beautiful on her. And so it has been really trippy to watch different people in the public eye get work done and recognize that I just literally think that a chunk of them were prettier beforehand. Now, don't get me wrong, I am still vain, okay, in the sense that like there are plenty of people that get things done cosmetically. Like I said, teeth, face, body, whatever, they get it done and it's like, oh girl, dang, that looks good. Like, not that you needed that, but like, good for you. You look really good. But there are, honestly, we're now at a point where I see just as many people who I'm like, wow, you looked better before. Like, not in a mean way, wouldn't, you know, whatever. That's just my honest reaction. And it's given me a sense of like, willingness, openness, like new eyes to embrace some of the things that I maybe previously thought of as flaws, like an openness of mind to see that maybe they're not flaws, that maybe that's actually part of what makes me like beautiful or unique looking. And I used to think that when people would use the word unique, it was like code for like not pretty or whatever. I don't know, like as a criticism, and they're like disguising it as like, it's unique. But now I get it, I'm telling you. And it's especially been in the last month or two where I'm like, dang man, they lost their uniqueness, and that uniqueness was actually their beauty. So yeah, it makes me sad. I mean, but I'm very like, my mom and I have been joking lately, though it's not really a joke. I'm very double-minded about a lot of things, if that's how we want to put it. You probably know that if you watch my channel. I'm going to be answering a question next where really you're going to see my double-mindedness. Because at the same time, I've totally researched, I think they call them ponytail facelifts. Like, dude, Kris Jenner's facelift is crazy. And I think she looks really good. So, you know, there's like different things that people do. My family just walked in the door from Costco. Hold on. Yeah, so I'm very double-minded about like that topic and other topics that we will hear me speak about in this video. So the next question, very juicy, also sad, have a lot of emotions around it, is give us your thoughts on Candace Owens and the conservative figure conflicts. So how do I even summarize these thoughts? Okay, so I feel like if you have had your ear to the ground in conservative politics for the last like 5 to 8 years, then none of this feels surprising. Like, yes, Charlie Kirk's death has definitely been a turning point in the movement, in like the conservative political sphere. But I feel like if you've had your ear to the ground in that world, like I said, for the last few years, then you know that this rift, the division that has been happening in conservative politics, particularly since his death, has been brewing for a very long time. Like, this has been a long time in the making. And so I'm not surprised. And so I think because of that, because I have been waiting for the divisions to just escalate, because of that, how many times can I say because of that? I am not very surprised to see this happen. I'm a little sad. Like I said at the beginning, it's very sad to watch something that initially seemed like it was going to be unifying and has turned into something that is dividing. But I also kind of get it. I will say this, I am not distinctly any team. So I know a lot of people are really mad at Candace right now, and I get it. I kind of am like, yeah, right. But then also I'm not like Team Candace. Now, I do have a little bit of like a soft spot for Candace because, I mean, I've been watching her intermittently for years now, and I do think she does great work, and I think that she asks important questions. I know people mock her for the questions that she asks, but I think a chunk of them are important questions, and questions that like everybody's looking at each other wondering as well, especially in regards to the story that we have been told about how Charlie died right now. It's going to be really interesting in upcoming months, because I do believe that there are probably facts and things that unfolded that we're not aware of yet, that have been kept on the down low for when this case is tried in court. But I don't remember where I was even going with that. I just blanked. But questions. People get mad at her questions that she asked. I don't think there is ever any harm in asking questions. That is a big mocked thing I see. You're not just asking questions. Like, yeah, I don't think asking questions is bad. I will say simultaneously, if you guys are really following it and you saw Allie Beth Stuckey's response to Candace, I thought it was also a good response. And oh, that's what I was going to say. I do have a little bit of a soft spot in my heart for Candace, because when we went through our cancellation, I remember I left a comment on one of her videos once, and she ended up like replying on her stream, and she was basically like agreeing with me how like insane it was, everything that we went through. So I appreciated that. It was like, wow, thanks for the nod, you know? But at the same time, and this is really what I mean about my double-mindedness, I'm not really sitting in any camp and I'm not really offended by anything. That is something that happened to me from my cancellation where I realized a couple of things. One, people can spin anything any which way and it can look totally legit. So when Candace is asking these questions and, you know, insinuating things, and filling in details to kind of like insinuate a narrative, I sit in both camps where part of me is like, yeah, that's interesting. Like I could see something shady going on here. But also just kind of like what Allie Beth said in her video, I now know firsthand, I have very, very close lived experience with people filling in details in a narrative, making it sound very plausible, and really only me and people close to me knowing like that's not the truth at all. Like there are other details you don't know, or maybe that looks bad, but that is not what happened, like, or that was not the motive or whatever. And so experiencing that is so like reality shaking, reality altering that it's really hard to explain how much that also made me like not trust anything in the media or really any commentator ever, like how they spin things, because I just realized like, oh, this is why lawyers exist. It is so possible to, if you are a compelling storyteller, to paint a picture in a way that sounds legit. Like really, I can't highlight that enough, that was probably one of the biggest things I took away from my cancellation. It's just a distrust now in how people tell stories in media and narratives in general. But I'm also just not offended at the idea of asking questions because there is so much shady stuff that has seemingly potentially been going on. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is like my level of getting offended at things was really knocked down after my cancellation. Like I'm just not that offended by things now. It's like, oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, maybe that's possible. Oh, interesting. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe that's possible. And I think that the media in general, and when I say the media, I don't mean necessarily just like NBC, CNN, you know, MSNBC, Fox News, whatever. I also mean like these independent commentators, because I know in the world of YouTube that I swam in, which was, you know, like some elites in YouTube, people that were pretty successful, made some money, but they weren't like ridiculously well-known, although some of them were. I'm like stopping as I change my, but I saw that there were like lies that were told, things that people would say behind the scenes and then present something different to the camera. And so it's just like, all right, well, you really, even if people seem completely genuine and you've been you just don't know. So all that being said, the conservative conflicts, I think it is sad, but I saw it coming from miles away, years away. I'm actually surprised it took this long. And I think there's going to be more division that will unfold, particularly here in the States, although also all around the world. Like even just the idea of like globalism versus nationalism, that is going to continue to create a divide amongst people. And in general, people that are more nationalists, that believe in borders, that believe that nations have the right to exist, that people groups have the right to maintain their culture and all of that, versus like globalism, this idea of like, there is no, you know, ethnicity, particularly if you are of European descent, it's whatever. That's not really a thing. And this idea that like borders shouldn't exist and we should be citizens of the world, which tends to be more of like a left-leaning concept. Though I have realized recently, people get really offended by like being labeled left or right, which is weird to me. I mean, taking offense in general at this point is kind of weird to me. But particularly amongst that, because I'm like, isn't that just like really obvious? Like some people lean more left on a political spectrum and some people lean more right. And I don't mean it as an insult. It's very weird. So we will see what happens, but I will not claim a team or a camp because I think that a lot of conservative commentators out there that maybe, like that's the thing. When I say double-minded, I don't even fully know what I think about some things. I'm more just like observing a lot, finding things interesting. And if I have opinions, they're more like light. Like, hey, based on what I've seen, this is kind of what I think. But I don't really hold on to it too tight because I've seen how people fooled other people about me. And I've seen how I have been fooled about other people. So it's just kind of a light thought, you know, and then like moving on, building my community, caring for my family, taking care of our health, you know, all of that jazz, pursuing a relationship with the Lord and seeking truth and just kind of like knowing that we may not know on this side of heaven what is true in regards to a lot of things. So yeah, I watch a lot of conservative commentators. I don't really have a team. I check in on Candace occasionally. I'm not like a daily avid viewer, and I'm not like someone that's, you know, so disgusted with Candace I can't watch her. Like, I find her very interesting, very compelling, very talented. She is definitely creating chaos. I would definitely not operate in that way, but also people always love to say that about people they're criticizing, right? Like, I wouldn't have said it that way. It's like, yeah, no kidding, you're not them. You know, I have never really been one to like call people out by name, try to create division per se. I don't feel like I'm that way. So, you know, we're different, but I still check in on her, and I watch a wide array of conservative commentators from time to time to hear the nuance in people's beliefs and perspectives on the right. I mean, I also watch people on the left too, but I don't know. Was that even anything? Was that even an answer? We'll see. Moving on. I got some like funny comments, like almost borderline rude or like sassy, but you can't really read tone. A couple of those. Someone said, I love your channel and I am a pagan. I follow an earth-centered spirituality. Spirituality. Am I welcome here? Of course you're welcome. Anyone is welcome here. I mean, like, people being mean, they're not welcome here. But like I said, I watch all kinds of people because I like to learn, and I'm constantly praying to God that like he's guiding me to truth, opening my eyes to, you know, what he wants me to see. So of course you are welcome here. Someone said, what's up with the whole hair color transition between black and brunette? Okay, so it's funny because I've actually kind of segued back a little darker again. But I thought for a long time, because I had grays coming in, like I can't be like black, dark brown because it's going to be too hard to transition into my grays as I get into my late 40s. But recently I've realized I just like myself with dark hair. I feel more like me. And I maybe was kind of resigning myself to the gray hair world like too early. Like, I'm not ready to go full gray, and I don't love my hair on the lighter side. Like, if I was going to be light, I would want to be light like I was when I was a child, which I was like a towhead blonde. And I'm not going to do that. We all saw, if you've watched for a while, Nikki Goes Blonde part 72, not doing that. So I'm kind of dipping my toes back in to like a little bit darker. Not really. It's just, you may notice like the shade may darken up a bit. That's what's happening. Someone said, do you dislike living around Mormons in Idaho? The answer is no. I mean, you've probably heard people say this. I think that Mormons, or members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, are some of the sweetest, nicest people, and they make great community members. I have a handful of friends that are LDS, and I appreciate them. They're talented, kind, hardworking, lovely people. We don't agree theologically, obviously. Maybe that's not obvious to you, but if you've dove into like understanding the differences in the faiths, they are different, though we share some like central things, but they are very different once you start learning more. But I like all kinds of people with different beliefs than me, and living in a community with people that are LDS is, I mean, honestly, our town is so nice. So yeah, love them. Okay, what do you think about illegal immigration? Ooh. Okay, so I think that people should immigrate legally. That's like the shorthand version. It's a complicated question, right? There is so much happening right now in the country in terms of like the conversation around ICE and deportations. And I can't sit here and pretend, because here's the thing. I'm a weird combo of like, I stay super tuned in. I go down wormholes. I try to stay informed and educate myself. Simultaneously, it would be a complete lie to say that I have like a really strong grasp on like what's happening in all these different areas in the country, in politics and, you know, economically and like health-wise, just whatever. Not possible. I am first and foremost a mom to little children, and that takes up a lot of my headspace, my energy, my time, my emotions. So I can't sit here and be like, I am confident about the way that people are being deported and the way that ICE is handling things, because I've seen some videos that have been like pretty sad, and I don't know what to make of them though at the same time, because, you know, sometimes videos of things that happen, especially with law enforcement, can be presented one way and you're like, this is horrifying. And then you find out the details and you're like, okay, that was like misleading and kind of out of context. So I don't know. I can't really speak to that. I do think though that we have an issue in our country right now, not only with a massive amount of people that are undocumented and living here like illegally, but part of that is because I think we have a problem with like assimilation. And I don't necessarily mean like, we all need to be sharing the same language and the same faith and the same cultural whatever. But now it's gotten to a point where like, what does it even mean? And who is even really walking this out? What does it mean to even be an American? And what is that culture? And what are people assimilating to? Like, is it constitutional beliefs? Is it food? Is it like freedom of speech, which is not something that exists everywhere? Like, what is it? I feel like the bond of what it is to be an American has been diluted because so many people have flooded the country like illegally. They have not gone through the process of entering the country through legal channels, taking the classes, the educational, getting the educational perspective around what it means to be an American, like legally, like constitutionally, like what our beliefs are. And so that kind of stinks because I think that America, essentially in a lot of ways, though I'm not someone who thinks that America is only a concept, but in a lot of ways it is a concept. And if we're not coming together to agree on what those concepts are, like, then what is our country kind of thing. So I am someone, I will say, that if there was a way to like shut down the borders for a minute, like stop immigration for a minute, or like drastically reduce it for a minute so we could just like clean up our house, like take care of what's going on in the country, I think that would be like really great and worthwhile and would only benefit the country. Because yeah, different countries operate in different ways. Different people groups typically have different beliefs, different perspectives on how they think a country should run. And it really has gotten to the point where like, what is our country? So yeah, speaking of that question, this kind of goes into this question. Someone asked, what is the biggest difference in Cali, Tennessee, and now Idaho living? Just curious. Okay, so California was the most multicultural place that I lived of the three, and very like arts centric. Like if you vlog out and about, it's not weird. No one will bat an eye. You just do your thing. It's very work focused. I felt like hustle culture in California in Los Angeles is very prominent. Like keeping up with the Joneses, hustle, work, being like the center of your life, I felt like was very like a big thing in California. Tennessee was a step in the direction of like work not being the center of your life. It's a slower paced, just in general, a slower paced culture. Like I remember in California, there were just so many times where Dan and I would talk about this, like you're walking down the street and you walk past someone and they either like don't look at you or they're like, how you doing? And then they walk away. Like they're not actually asking how you're doing. And when we moved to Tennessee, we noticed that like people would, like the grocery cashier would just like want to have a full blown conversation with you while you're checking out. You're like, okay, wow. Like, you don't care that there's all these people behind me. Like you just want to talk. So that was a really big difference. And then Idaho, probably something that stands out a lot is this area, at least northern Idaho at this point, is very like freedom minded, like don't tread on me, appeal to heaven, far right wing values. And you feel it out and about in the community when you're talking to people, just in the vibe. It's definitely becoming more purple as time is going on, but I can get a little negative. I think everywhere is kind of going to become more purple depending on what happens in the next few years. That's a whole separate thing. I could go off into a whole like conspiratorial thing about what like the elites in society and the government, in American government are doing and how they're like trafficking people to different areas to flip voting patterns and change the community. It's a whole thing. But in general, that has been what I've noticed about North Idaho while living here and the differences between the three. Someone said thoughts on the Epstein files and thoughts on Trump 1 year into his term. Okay, so I think it's good that they're heading the direction of releasing the files. I still am so, my mom says jaded, double-minded, whatever. I still am so that way that I don't even really trust the release. Like I'm glad it's going that direction. Like, yes, release the files. But I'm just like, they're gonna like play the next show and like feed us the next narrative. So I just, even Trump a year into his term, like, am I super hyped? Am I super disappointed? I kind of just cast my vote because I had a couple options and it was like, all right, if I have to pick, like he's who I'm picking. But I was never like, Trump, Trump. And this is where I am kind of jaded. Where like, I don't know Donald Trump. Like, I've never met him. I've never met anyone in his cabinet. And like, even if I met them, it would be in passing. I don't know them. So I don't tend to believe, like I said, what is told to me in the media by politicians, whatever. So it was just, all right, well, I got to deal with what's in front of me. So I'm going to make my choice, cast my vote, move along. But I didn't have like high hopes. I wasn't holding my breath for a whole bunch of things. I will say probably the biggest thing that I was like, oh, yay, was over RFK being a part of the team. But even that, there's part of me that just not worries, but wonders, if that's a better way to put it, that, him bringing out all of these policies, bringing forward these ideas around, questioning things like Tylenol, things that are sprayed on the food, vaccinations, all of that. If it's going to set up a space for the next term of whoever gets into office to turn around and like essentially swing back at all of us, or like try to enforce things upon us, the people that are very like medically freedom minded, it just makes me, and it makes me wonder that about every single like executive order that's ever passed, just anything that's done in general. And, it is what it is. My hope is not in the government. That's the thing. My hope and where I put my emotional like time and energy is into my family and my community. And I think that makes the most sense, because everything else that is far away from us, like, we really don't know. And yes, people can be lying in your day-to-day life too. Someone could be a totally different person in your community or in your town. But I think that that is what we have always been meant to handle and live out, like for all of history until recently, is just the problems, the weight, the joy, whatever, of our local community. I think that's what it's supposed to be. And B, it's at least a step closer towards truth, because you're there, it's tangible. This isn't AI. You see the person in front of you, you have history with them. I just think that's a better bet to like place your hope and your thoughts, and not your thoughts, but like your hope and your energy and all of that. So yeah, I feel like that wasn't really an answer. That was like an answer, non-answer. Is that like all of my questions? I don't know. Okay. Do you and Dan ever disagree on parenting preferences, like one being more strict? Yes, I think that's probably everyone, right? Because when you get married, you've got two different people coming together into union. And then when you have kids, it's two different people parenting a different person. Like, it's hard, it's wild, it's a journey. I would say that sometimes it depends on the circumstance. Sometimes I am the more strict parent, and sometimes Dan is the more strict parent, and it just kind of depends. It varies depending on the situation. I can't really think of an exact example. I would say if one of us is more strict than the other, it's probably me. I am a little more strict, but also I am more soft, just because I am the stereotypical like mother woman that's like, my baby, so like my babies. So I'm just saying baby because really like Lizzie is a baby. And when I do it like that, I'm referring to like Logan, because he's obviously who we're really trying to like, he's growing up, right? We're disciplining him. We're trying to guide him, instruct him, all of that. But yes, we do disagree. And the way that we get through that is just by communicating. We try not to ever do those like conversational disagreements in front of Logan, but we do sometimes. Sometimes it literally is like, it just catches you off guard and you disagree and you're like, okay, we got to talk about this. And now like Logan hears it and he wants to hear why, like what's happening, the decision that's being made. But in general, we try to have those conversations separately, because obviously we're on the same team here, and we want him to know that like mom and dad, we come together to try to guide you. You can't pit us against each other. We're the same, team. We are actually all a team, but in terms of guiding him, like mom and dad are on the same page. So yeah. Someone asked my biggest motherhood regret, and I would probably say it's the handful of times that I've lost my cool. Now, one could say that I was backed into a corner, and that is ultimately what ended up working, was me like yelling, right? Like just screaming and yelling about how frustrated I am in a situation. And it did actually work. And, like I said, one could debate, maybe like a child needs to see you frustrated from time to time to know that they're really frustrating you. But I do think sometimes like that is my biggest regret, that I want to in general have a like kind, soft, loving relationship with my children. And, I know there's so much drama around the Duggars, but one thing that I do admire, even though I know it's complicated and there's lots of layers to that, including how they chose to discipline. But something I admire about Michelle Duggar is I've heard her children and family members say that they've like never heard her yell. Ever. And I'm like, wow, that's like convicting that you can like parent without yelling. And like I said, there's more layers to that, so I'm not like that upset. But that's just really cool. And that's probably my biggest regret, is the times when I've lost my cool. So someone said, how much of Lizzie's diet is breast milk at this age? I would love a short what I eat in a day Lizzie edition. So Lizzie does not really, like, her eating is all over the map. Some days she eats a lot more. Some days she hardly eats anything. It just kind of depends. And she drinks milk pretty much mostly before her nap and before bed. But I am still full-time pumping even to just keep up with that amount. Now, she has been sick for like the last week or so, and so she's drinking way less milk. So I'm actually getting some milk back in the freezer. But her diet varies day to day. You know, like this morning she had a little bit of dried cereal and a couple pieces of cheese, I think, and an orange slice. Oh, she had a couple pieces of my beef sausage. But some mornings, like, she just eats a couple bites of cereal and she's like, done. Yeah, I'll stew on that. But her diet is all over the map, and she just tends to nibble at mealtime. She likes meats, cheeses, fruits, and bread. That's kind of like, I mean, is that just the human diet in general? Maybe I just listed the human diet. Ooh, do I want to answer this question? Someone just asked, what research rabbit holes have you been wandering down lately? So my interests have been like kind of all over the map. I feel like I'm always kind of like bebopping from one topic to the next. But one of the topics that I've gone down, and I just, spoiler alert, I don't have a specific stance, it's research, and I find it fascinating, is the place of Israel in the Bible, because obviously there are different perspectives around just hermeneutical perspectives around what Israel even is in the Bible. And so I have been going down lots of wormholes because I really want to understand all of the perspectives. I don't want to just be like educating myself on one side and have this bias and not understand what the other side is saying. So I find myself listening a lot to different perspectives because obviously that is something that is on the main stage at this point in our life. And yeah, it's just fascinating. Obviously in my lifetime, we have fought, our country has fought. I have friends whose husbands have been greatly affected by the wars that have been fought overseas. And so it's just fascinating to me as a Christian trying to understand like just what Israel even really is, stands for, what it is in the Bible, basically. So those are the wormholes that I have really, or that's one of the wormholes that I've really been going down lately. But it's, like I said, my topics range all over the map because I tend to bebop from wormhole to wormhole. Someone asked if I still do music content, which I don't right now, but I was just talking to a friend about this the other day. I have some very specific songs that I would like to cover in the future. Hopefully I'll cover them soon in life, like really specific direction. One is like 2 different worship songs or praise songs like mashed together, and I want to do it. I have a friend who plays the cello. I want her to, it might just be like a cello only track with me singing, not sure. So I have ideas, but once again, this season of raising littles, like this is not the time, you know, like it's flying. I feel like in the blink of an eye, Logan's going to be 10 years old. It's crazy. Not really. He's only 5, but he's turning 6 in January. So no music content right now, but I play piano still. We have a piano in our house, and I'm actually leading like the Christmas carols for, or one of the people. I'm one of the people leading the Christmas carols. It's me and my friend's little girls on the piano at our homeschooling co-op in a few weeks. So yeah, we'll see what God does with it. I don't foresee music ever stopping being a passion in my life. And so we'll just see what happens as time unfolds. Someone else asked, and these, I think these are going to be my last 2 questions. Okay. How did you get past disordered eating? Your relationship with food is inspiring. Well, praise God, and thank you for that. I literally got past it because I had a like final moment. Like there was a moment where like my mom confronted me on it when I was a teenager. And I remember like crying and going to the mirror and just looking at myself. And it was like a switch flipped in my brain where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like literally, it was a moment of, I don't want to obsess about food and my body anymore. So I'm just not going to. It was literally just a choice. I refuse to participate in this anymore. Like if I'm a little bit heavier, quote unquote, than I want to be, like who cares? I could die this weekend. I like being thin, having what I might have deemed a perfect body just isn't that important. And then over time, it kind of even morphed more into this idea of like, I want to be strong. I want to build muscle. Like, I don't care about being so skinny. You know what I mean? So for me, between all of my chronic pain and my love of food, my desire is just to eat well, feed the people that I love good food, and God willing, gain strength in my body. And so really it was a shifting of my focus and deciding that I didn't want to be obsessed with food and how thin I was anymore. Obviously that is all by the grace of God, but that's just the truth. It was literally like a decision, like, I'm done with this. I'm done. So, on that note, someone asked when my cookbook will be out, guys. Someday my cookbook will be out. I don't know when. The problem is, once I really dove in, I started to realize like, wow, I'm really in over my head. I thought this was going to be a little bit easier than this. But then the problem is, as time has gone on, like, I've gotten better at cooking. So I'm like constantly going back and being like, that's not good enough. But then the bar keeps being raised because I'm getting better at cooking and being exposed to even more meals. So I don't know. Someday, I believe that God will give me the prompting and the chutzpah to wrap up a cookbook and release it to you guys. I just don't know when that's gonna be. So hang tight. If you want, in the meantime, I have something called a cookbook lookbook that I will link in the info box down below, which is kind of like just a little like ebook that gives you ideas for in the kitchen, lots of pictures of food that I've made, and people have told me they've liked it. Like, it's not a cookbook, but it's chill. Okay, just kidding. Last question. Homeschool curriculum recommendations. I don't have any. I'm so sorry to tell you that. I do love the Tuttle Twins, though I wouldn't consider that a curriculum. Though they do have like an online academy, so that's interesting. I'll have their stuff linked down below if you want to check them out, but I haven't looked at the academy. But I think it's more like curriculum around other topics, because mostly the Tuttle Twins does like, you know, economics, freedom, law, that kind of stuff. But I think they actually have more stuff available. I am just in a season right now where my curriculum is just straight up the library for my kids. Like, we are just reading to them basically every day, multiple times a day we read to them. We explore different topics that Logan is interested in, and we end up pursuing those topics on other platforms as well. So like the stereotype of like, he really likes, you know, he's interested in icebergs. So we read a book about an iceberg, and then we watch some videos about icebergs, and, you know, he might be drawing icebergs. Like, he's still little right now, and I'm very much into interest-led learning. So that is where my head is at in regards to curriculum. But yeah. All right, guys, I'm gonna stop myself now because I have to go get my kids in a few minutes. They are next door at grandma's, and we are going for a play date with a friend, which is very exciting. So on that note, I will, God willing, see you guys back here soon with another new video. Thank you so much for watching, for checking out my channel, for commenting, thumbsing up, all of those things. And that's it. All right, bye guys.